Good morning, everybody. Today is April 9th, 2019. I'm at 61st Street and Roosevelt Avenue right now, and I'm going to take a walk along Roosevelt Avenue to Flushing Meadows Corona Park. Currently, I am in the neighborhood of Woodside, Queens. There's a large Irish American population here, as well as Asian Americans. Right now it is about 46 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's foggy right now. And the time right now is 5 o'clock in the morning. Here's a bus station. The Q70 Select Bus Service serves here, as well as the Q53 Select Bus Service. The Q70 goes to LaGuardia Airport, and the Q53 goes to the Rockaways via Woodhaven Boulevard. Above me is the number 7 train. It is also called the IRT Flushing line. The last stop on the Flushing line, the number 7 train, is Main Street Flushing. And the last stop in Manhattan is 34th Street Hudson Yards. So since it's so early in the morning right now, a lot of shops are closed. Most of them don't even open until probably around 8 o'clock in the morning at the very earliest. But most businesses, they're open by 10 o'clock. Even this laundromat's not open, and they open at 6:30 in the morning. Across the street from me is Jollibee. It is a Filipino fast food restaurant chain. They recently had a opening in Times Square. Right now there's barely anybody on the streets. A little bit spooky. It was much foggier earlier in the morning yesterday. I assume the fog is being caused by the drastic change in temperatures. Yesterday afternoon it was around 76 degrees Fahrenheit, and now it's back into the mid-40s. So a drastic change in temperature causes many foggy conditions. So this stretch along Roosevelt Avenue is mostly commercial businesses. The residential area of Woodside Avenue doesn't really live along Roosevelt Avenue. Due to the nature of Roosevelt Avenue, since it's a street that goes generally northeast to southwest, it runs at an angle, so it bisects many streets in different ways. Granted, Queens is a strange borough anyway, because the street grid was mainly a bunch of villages and towns that was taken over. So each village and town had their own street grid. And then when it was incorporated into the city, it was a lot of organization was needed in order to bring all the streets and avenues and different roads together. That's why sometimes many of the streets you'll see them jumping numbers. This is a lucky money transfer business. Health stores and law offices. So there's a wide variety of businesses along this avenue. Over down on this street, you can see a lot of the residences and single family and dual family homes. This convenience store is one of the few businesses that are open at this time. You can hear many of the birds have taken residence on this elevated train station, the 69th Street Flushing Line station. Down there is actually the entrance to the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway. Here is a Mexican food truck getting ready for business. So right now I'm about to walk over the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway. The Brooklyn-Queens Expressway was constructed by the urban designer Robert Moses. As soon as I cross over the BQE, that's short for the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway, I'll be entering the neighborhood of Jackson Heights. Which is the most diverse neighborhood in the world. And as a result of that, you can find many, many different cuisines here. You have everything from Asian, European, Spanish, Latino, Middle Eastern, African, you name it. You could probably find it here in Jackson Heights. Here's a business that can't afford to be closed. It's a gas station. There's the Q53 bus and the Q70 bus making its way down the avenue, as I stated before. Now here on this street at the intersection of Roosevelt Avenue and Broadway is a major train station, the Roosevelt Avenue station. It's actually called two different names depending if you take the underground subway or the elevated. On the elevated number 7 line, it's called the 74th Street Broadway station. And on the underground E, F, M, and R trains, it's called the Jackson Heights Roosevelt Avenue line. Right there, I just had to be a little aware because there was a yellow taxi just turning onto Broadway at full speed without stopping. If you're crossing the street here in New York, make sure you double check where you're about to step on when you come off onto the street. Even though I have right of way, I don't want to be right and end up in the hospital. At this time of day, this subway station is almost empty. It's amazing. As soon as rush hour hits, which is in about 3 hours from now, you'll see a lot of different people coming in and out of the station. And here's some activity going on here. A lot of food stands and food trucks. There was a bakery that was open, so There's a reason why New York is called the city that never sleeps. This bar is closed. Bars generally are open very late, but they don't stay up this early in the morning. I can smell some food already and it's delicious. It's probably from this food truck. $3 tacos, $6 tortas. For New York City prices, that's very inexpensive. Here's a 99¢ and up store. So they can charge $100 for each item and they technically still can't be wrong. In New York, you have to be careful of what you market or advertise because people can always come back to get you and say, oh, hey, it was false advertising. You said the store was 99¢ for everything, but that's why they protect themselves with 99¢ and up. Plus, there is New York City and New York State sales tax as well, which currently is 8.875% combined. That's added onto most products sold within New York City. Some of the main exclusions to the sales tax are food items, with the exception of prepared food, and also clothing, I believe, under $100. In this neighborhood of Jackson Heights, it's also pretty common to see people sharing living spaces with each other. Partly that's due to the high living costs of living inside New York City. Sometimes it's convenience and sometimes it's for social reasons. Here's a convenience store mainly advertising themselves as a smoke store. At this time of day, there aren't too many subway trains running. I heard probably only around 3 or 4 when I was walking along here. During rush hours, you can expect the 7 trains to come at least once every 3 to 4 minutes. Looks like this business has some trouble with the audio system. Here's another eating establishment. Dunkin' Donuts is still open at this time, as well as this bakery. I have noticed a lot of the eating restaurants and establishments around the train stations stay open. This is the 82nd Street Jackson Heights station. This juice stand looks like it's open, but the lights are still on, but nobody's attending it. I'm sure if I went inside, someone will be glad to assist me though. For such an early hour, that was a large amount of cars on the street. 83rd Street and Manuel de Diaz Urania Street. I hope I pronounced that right. Sometimes these streets are co-named. Over here you can see why Roosevelt Avenue has a weird system. Here it intersects Baxter Avenue as well as Glean Street at the same time. It's interesting to note I've seen a lot of these protective barriers around the train columns. I guess they're reinforcing them or repainting them, doing something. There were a couple of news articles I read over the past months where parts of the number 7 line fell onto the street here, onto Roosevelt Avenue. Maybe that's why they have some of this protective metal up. so they can do some renovations. It was actually a pretty big deal because it happened like 3 times over the past year or so, where parts of the subway are just falling down. Granted, I don't think anyone got injured from it. Mainly some car windows were smashed and some parts of the streets got a little damaged. Actually, these columns look like they're a different color, so maybe they did repaint them. This one looks like it's brown and a little bit of orange, although that could be just the street lighting making it that color. I wonder what all this machinery is for, though. A lot of caution signs and definitely a lot of wires hanging from the truck. Maybe they're doing electrical work. There's a bakery that looks like it's open across the street. Actually, it's surprising even me how many businesses are still open. There's another taco place that's open. And there was a Chilean place a few feet before where I just walked past that was still open as well. Here you can see a lot of different businesses stacked on top of each other. Some of them are in the basement and some of them are in the second floor. All ranging from nail salons, hair salons, service businesses. Looks like even more work's being done on the elevated. This is a very interesting beauty salon. I'm sure many businesses around here are open. This is the 90th Street Elmhurst Avenue station. I really wonder what these cars are honking at. I see some open. There's a bakery here. There's another bakery across the street that's open. Even this florist is open. There's a window side tortas, tacos, and burritos place that's open. It smells delicious. Here's a stretch limo that's parked on the corner here. There's a Rite Aid pharmacy store. Many of them are open 24 hours, but this one isn't. And even some more work being done on the subway. There's a grocery and convenience store across the street that's open. With these streets, you have to be extremely cautious because sometimes there's a blind spot. People making a right from the avenue can't see you. So I always try to take those crossings a little bit wide. That way vehicles have more time to see me. This place looked like it was open, but it's not. Some businesses and establishments keep their lights on. It's a good way to deter crime from break-ins and burglaries. Many of the businesses also have these fences with the see-through design. That's generally good for business, as it allows people to see what the business has for sale. But on the other hand, it may give criminals the wrong idea. As you can see, there's a lot of diverse businesses here. Jewelry, computers, and cell phone. Another cell phone company, the Boost Mobile company. There's a fish market across the street, income tax business, and eye care business. Now this is the Junction Boulevard number 7 train station, as well as the boulevard itself. This boulevard is the border between Jackson Heights and Corona, or more correctly speaking, North Corona. There's also a South Corona, which is just generally named Corona. Corona's population is more Hispanic compared to Jackson Heights. All right. Someone's commenting on my video doing Roosevelt Avenue. As soon as I pass into Corona, you can see a lot more Spanish restaurants and establishments. Even a lot of the signs and names are in Spanish. There was even an advertisement in Spanish. An advertisement in Spanish for a apartment for rent. Here's something I don't really see too often anymore. Horse rides for children. I wonder if it's even still working. I remember them being much more prominent back in the 90s. But I rarely see them anymore. Looks like the price hasn't changed on them as well. Here the LED lights are bringing out some of the fog that I was talking about earlier. Most of it should dissipate as the sun rises. Probably by the water you'll find a lot of fog there. Here's a variety market, an attorney, watches, shoes, and leatherwork. Looks like over here is a vacant lot. Also, someone scribbled a for rent sign on the advertisement. No, that wasn't the advertisement. That was the danger, do not enter sign. Great place to put somewhere where you want to advertise. Danger, don't enter, but you can rent my apartment. A lot of birds extremely active in the morning here. Let's hope I don't get pooped on. It's amazing that birds have found a way to survive in this city. Many of the pigeons here find refuge high above the city streets on the elevated tracks and on canopies and different places. So right here is the 103rd Street subway station. This is known as Corona Plaza. There's a lot of businesses around the plaza. I'm actually a little bit hungry right now, so I'll catch up with you later on, but stay tuned. So I actually went to this place, the Delicias Mexicanas place, bar and restaurant, and let me tell you, if you didn't believe you were in New York City, you would think you're in Mexico. Because yeah, everyone there is Spanish and the food is really authentic. I had a beef taco and let me tell you, it's pretty good. It was also very busy at this time. I was very surprised. But now it is 6:24 p.m. I'm continuing my walk on Roosevelt Avenue towards Flushing Meadows Park. If you want authentic Spanish food, make sure to give Corona Queens a visit. Actually, the sun should be rising pretty soon. Many of these people are finally waking up and taking the transportation to get to work. Many of them are going to Manhattan, Brooklyn, even somewhere further down the line in Queens. So right here, the sidewalk's closed. If you don't read the signs, you'll be walking right into a construction area. Here's a nice view of the 7 train making its way to Main Street. Right now it is magic hour. Also, the sun should be rising pretty shortly. If not, it's already started. Actually, it already did start. The sun rises at 6:25 a.m. Right now it's 6:26. Right now the trains are running a lot more frequent. Many of the number 7 trains are being taken out of Corona Yard and put into service right now. This is 108th Street, probably one of Corona's most important streets. It cuts right through the neighborhood and continues on to Forest Hills, ending at Queens Boulevard. ⁴ Street is one of the few streets in Queens where you can travel north to south pretty much uninterrupted. The other main streets are Junction Boulevard, and that might be the only other one, Junction Boulevard. Here's a Q48 bus making its way to LaGuardia Airport. It's not too far from here. that train just left and another one pulled in. With the start of the CBTC system, I've seen a lot of improvements along the 7th line. CBTC stands for Communications Train-Based Control. That's communications-based train control. I stumbled my words a little bit back there because I wanted to say it before the subway drowned out my voice. So this is 111th Street. I'm going to cross the street here. It's also the site of a number 7 train station. And make my way to Flushing Meadows Corona Park. The sun is definitely rising. You can't really tell because it's such a cloudy day. I'm mainly going to the park to see the cherry blossom trees, and there's some on this block already. The cherry blossom trees, the Unisphere, and also tell you a little bit about Flushing Meadows Corona Park while I'm at there. I'm also meeting another YouTuber, Jennifer O'Brien. I'm going to be doing a collaboration video. Maybe if it's up by the time this video is posted, I'll leave a link somewhere, but be sure to check it out. Here's some more cherry trees. I believe they're the Yoshino variety. It's the most popular variety of cherry. Cherry blossom trees all bloom at different times depending on the climate and the species of tree. Most of the Yoshino cherry trees around New York City have bloomed already. I really thought this weather would be a lot more clear when I finally ended around Flushing Meadow Park, but that doesn't really seem to be the case. It's still very cloudy and very foggy. On the other hand, it does give it that kind of a weird movie effect, kind of like a mysterious tone. Just pretend I'm in the middle of a forest somewhere and with fog and it's hard to see at night. lot of garbage bags here on the side. I wonder if they're here legally or not. In New York, garbage disposal is a problem. Where are all these millions of people going to dump their refuse? Most of the garbage actually gets taken away by the ship and repurposed into other uses and put into landfills, things of that nature. So I am right now on the border of Flushing Meadows Corona Park. Over there to my left is the New York Hall of Science Museum, as well as a parking lot. Here you can see the building a little bit better behind all the trees. And then now there's an opening. You can't really make it out behind the trees, but it's clear now. The New York Hall of Science. There's the terrace on the park in the distance. They do a lot of special events there, as well as restaurant services. So Flushing Meadows Park has a lot of history. It was the site of the World's Fair and also houses Citi Field, which is the home of the New York Mets, the Arthur Ashe Stadium, and the USTA Billie Jean National Tennis Center. It was created in 1939 as the site of the 1939 and 1940 World's Fair, and also it hosted the 1964 to 1965 World's Fair. It's the fourth largest public park in New York City. And you can see a lot of the remnants of the World's Fair still within Flushing Meadows Corona Park. Most recently, it was in the news as being the venue for the fortnight finale. So the Fortnite World Cup will be hosted inside the tennis center, inside Flushing Meadows Corona Park on a weekend in July. That will be kind of interesting to see what's going on at that time. Right now this park is completely empty. Doesn't even seem like I'm in New York City. The only things I notice are birds and squirrels and nature around me. Oh, there's a person. Here's a playground for the New York Hall of Science. It's a very fun museum for children. So to the right, going down that path, you'll head towards the Queen Zoo. Here's a very nimble American robin up nice and early. The saying goes, the early bird catches the worm. The ground is definitely wet today, so that'll bring a lot of worms to the surface. Here's the Grand Central Parkway, Queens Museum, which was actually the New York building. There I could finally see the Unisphere in the distance, right past the New York City building. Most of the cherry blossom trees are on the other side. Here's one that just bloomed. The cherry blossoms don't particularly stay bloom for very long. There's only a short window of about 2 to 3 weeks at most to see them. Off in the distance is the New York State Pavilion building. Right now it's abandoned. The New York State Pavilion back in the World's Fair was called the Tent of Tomorrow, and also the Observation Towers. It's really sad to see those towers being abandoned and the New York State Pavilion, the tent being unused. There are plans to redevelop it into something else, but we'll see what comes out of it. Here are some wonderful looking cherry blossom trees. Many of the leaves have already fallen. Ooh, look at that. What happened? You're not going to chase your friend anymore? These blossoms are more white in nature than pink. So here it is, the Queens Museum, located inside the New York City building. It's an art museum and also features one of the largest panoramas of New York City. Actually, it is the largest panorama of New York City inside. That's the main exhibit. So the cherry blossom trees are on the north side of the park. If anyone's wondering, that's where my YouTube logo comes from. It's the Flushing Meadows Unisphere. Here's a plaque with some information on it. It's dedicated to man's aspirations toward peace through mutual understanding and symbolizing his achievements in an expanding universe. Built by the United States Steel Corporation for the 1964 and 65 New York World's Fair, April 22nd, 1964. Made of stainless steel, it's 140 feet high and 120 inches in diameter. Also weighs 700,000 pounds. Imagine trying to lift that up. I don't even know how they did it, putting the Unisphere here. They had to have built it on site. This place is completely empty. There's Arthur Ashe Stadium. That's the venue for the Fortnite World Cup in July. And here are all the cherry blossom trees that have bloomed already. The ground is a little bit wet, so just be a little bit careful not to step in any mud. Here's a very nice angle of the Unisphere through the cherry blossom leaves. A squirrel going through the cherry tree. This one doesn't look like it's bloomed yet. It's about to. Must be a different species. What are these two birds doing? Actually, it's not as bad as I thought with all the fog. It does give it that mysterious vibe, as I stated. Let me just walk over to the other side. Here's the view of the Unisphere from the other side. Maybe if you're watching this video from a different continent, you could pick out where you live. Alright, I'm doing a final walk through the cherry blossom trees to see the Unisphere. And look who it is. It's my friend Jen.
Hey! I'm so glad we just met a couple of days ago and we are here at the cherry blossoms is one of my favorite spots. I'm also doing a video about the best places for spring, so check it out, Jennifer O'Brien, and thank you so much. Yeah.
All right, so check out Jen's channel up here. Be sure to subscribe and like for some further videos. I'll see you all next time. Take it easy.